Forecasting. The word prediction, the way it was used, although these days they are sort of synonymous, but originally the word prediction was linked to things like soothsaying. How do you spell soothsaying? Um, what do you call it now? Fortune telling, those kind of things. Fortune telling. Okay. For instance, just like a prophet says, "Oh, by tomorrow, so and so thing will happen." Okay, and or some person with some spiritual powers comes and says, "So and so thing will happen on so and so date." Everybody expect it to, those that believe expect it to happen exactly the way the person said, isn't it? Maybe Nigeria is playing a match against Brazil. Say Nigeria versus Brazil. Okay. And then somebody tells you the match is going to end 3-1. 3-1 in favor of Nigeria. And Nigeria is going to beat Brazil 3-1. Okay. Now, if at the end the score is the match turns out that at the end of the match it's 3-2, would you say the person got it right or not? Are we going to say
he tried, he got it right.
He got it what?
No.
Hello?
Because
not 100%.
Not 100% exactly.
The
But the person he tried.
He tried, but the prediction is not correct. Even though we still won,
yeah,
that's wrong prediction. Are you following now? That's what happens with soothsaying, fortune telling.
It's not correct.
Okay. But forecasting is not like that. In forecasting, you are not able to precisely say what will happen. Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can't do that. But when you forecast, usually your forecast will fall within a certain range. Yes, it fall within a certain range if you do a good job. Okay? It will fall within a reasonable range. So, and if used on the medium, over time, you discover that it can be very, very beneficial, even though you cannot get exact figures, but it can be very beneficial. Okay? Can be very beneficial. For example, you can forecast what the outcome would be. Let's say, as usual in business, you want to make a lot of profit. Let's say you are trying to project for a profit of a certain amount, assuming you are looking at the profit like that. Then there are some variables that you can use for your forecast. Okay, such as adverts, adverts. Okay. There has to be some expenses on adverts, for example. So you can forecast to get the level of expenditure on adverts needed to produce a certain amount of results. To produce a certain results. Okay. How would you do that? Let's say adverts have been done over time, maybe on monthly or quarterly basis, and the records are kept. Okay. And then you are now able to see the relationship between adverts and sales. You're able to see the relationship between adverts and sales, okay, over time. Then you'll be able to predict to say, okay, or we'll be able to forecast to say, okay, if 500, 500K is spent on adverts, what level of profit is expected? Okay, be able to predict that. If we spend 500K, then we should maybe be expecting a profit of about this. No, that kind of thing. That's the kind of thing you do with forecasting. Okay, so we are going to see how that works. Using various methods. There are various methods of forecasting. Okay, but the most commonly used one, the most in data analytics, the major one is
Regression.
regression analysis. Yeah, regression analysis. So we are going to look at regression analysis and see how to do it in Excel and also in other platforms, but particularly Excel. Okay. So we are going to see that that's the next topic we are going to look at. But there are other ways. For example, there's the moving average. Moving average can also be used for forecasting. There's what they call the weighted moving average. There's even what is called the exponential smoothing. Exponential smoothing. So all these can be used for forecasting, but the major one that we are going to really focus on more is regression analysis. Regression analysis is very important in data analytics. Very, very important. Okay. So when we are done with that, then we'll begin to look at what they call statistical models. This regression analysis itself is kind of a model in its own right, but we'll then look at some other statistical models. So in effect, where we are now, we are now delving into the heart of data analytics. Well, that's just to lay foundation for what we are going to be doing henceforth. Okay. So, as a data analyst, I don't want to delve into this today actually. I just decided to just tell you the next point of call. Okay. Yeah, for the few minutes we have left, I just want to say one or two things that we should take note of. Yeah. As a data analyst, you must always remember that you are a data analyst. Okay, which means your work is to analyze data. to analyze data. So if your job is to analyze data, then you must have a thorough understanding of data. Okay? You must have a thorough understanding of data. So when you look at data, you always, the first thing you do, you study the data. You study the data. Okay? What do you look at in data? First of all, when you have a data set, check to see the fields. What fields are in the data? What are the fields? What do I mean by fields? When I say field, what do I mean?
The variables, the
Yes. I use another term. Look at this data.
the
Look at this data set, for example.
the type of data. So
What are the fields here?
that's in categorical data. So
All the links
numerical.
to the data.
The fields are the columns. Okay. So let's say you have a data like this. You have to look, what are the columns on this of this data? Then what kind of analysis can I do with these columns? What's the purpose of analysis? The purpose of analysis is to help gain insight into data. Okay? To extract useful information from
Yes,
it, right? So that's the purpose of analysis. Let's say, for example, you see this data you are seeing now, okay? Because it looks small like this, okay? Because we are using it to practice and all that. Just imagine that if this were scores, information gotten from public exam written by the public, by different schools that come together. Okay, maybe you would have been talking of millions of rows, not this one that we are just seeing the end like this. Okay, maybe it would have been millions of rows. So assuming this data were to be 1.5 million rows, how can you make sense of the data? How can you make sense? I mean, then you understand the need to summarize data. Because as you are scrolling, you keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and don't get to the end. So of what useful information can you give anybody about the data? Nothing. For you to be able to have any information that will be useful for whatever, you must summarize the data.
Yeah.
And there are various ways you can summarize it. For example, okay, if I look at this data as okay, let me see. I want to know how many people got A grade, how many people got B, how many people got C, how many people got D, E, F, right? Now, by doing that, if I'm able to extract that, then I would have succeeded in summarizing this whole data, which may be 1.5 million rows, into just about 6 rows or so. A, B, C. Let me use capital. Okay, I would have succeeded in doing that. into just a few rows: A, B, C, D, E, F. And I've succeeded in summarizing it, reducing it to just this. Okay. So maybe I'll have something like grades, grades, frequency. So that's something I could extract from this. Okay. Okay, the number of people that got this grade, the number of people that got this grade, the number of people that got that grade, and so on. So in doing that, by doing this, I've been able to extract useful information from this massive amount of data. Okay. So this is useful information. It's useful to the management, the administrators or whoever. It's useful information. Another thing you may want to do, you want to know how many people passed the test and how many people failed it. That's useful information. What other information can you get from it? You may want to know what is the average score of all the students. What's the maximum score?
Maximum score. Okay.
What's the minimum score?
Minimum score.
These are useful information. Okay? These are very, very useful information. So when you are doing analysis, most of the time, like this serial number, this is not useful for analysis. Okay? Of course, you may want to know how many people wrote the test, of course. That can easily be gotten, but you don't need serial number to be able to get that. Even the registration number. These are important records. Registration number is important for keeping the record, but it's usually not very important for analysis. Okay. It's from here. These are the fields that are most important for analysis here. Why is that the case? Why? Why? Because if you observe, from here particularly, if you observe, you will discover that there's a lot of repetition.
Repeated, yeah,
Yeah.
repeated variables.
Yeah. So whenever you have repetition like this, I can see pass, pass, pass. You can see A's, the number of A's, the number of B's. You can see different departments. You can see So when there's repetition like this, it means that this data is summarizable. Can be summarized. That's the meaning. That's why we could summarize this like this, because there's repetition. You can summarize the remarks to pass, either pass or fail, because there's repetition. Okay. Another thing that makes it easy, like this course, the repetition may not be much like that, but because score is a numeric variable, you can easily do a lot of interesting calculations on it. Like the mean, the median, all those things can be computed on score. So it's a very important field as far as analyzing this data set is concerned. Okay. Another way you can summarize this kind of data is to summarize it by visualizing it, by plotting a chart. Like this chart now. It nicely helps us to see
The
those
highest.
the highest
Yes.
number of people that got A's, B's, and so forth.
Yeah.
Okay. So, as a data analyst, you should be used to this kind of things. And one of the characteristics, um, characteristics now, one of the things, the qualities of a good analyst is the quality of observation. You must be observed, just observe, just look at the data, just study the data, patiently study the data. Okay? Because the person you are, the company you are working for, or whoever you are working, doing the job for, may not understand all these things I'm explaining to you. They just want you to bring out useful information. So you as an analyst should be able to use your initiative to extract useful information that can support intuitive decision making. Okay. So that is that. Any question?
All right.
Any question?
Question. The question is on the solver.
Is what?
I say it's on the solver.
On the solver.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, what's your question on the solver?
I didn't grab this constraints. You know.
We didn't get the constraint.
Yeah.
Okay. What is there any
You know,
particular aspect of the constraint that is confusing?
yeah, do you like do the greater than or equals to like I just want to know and have the very good understanding about it.
All right. Yes, man. So again. 1 minute. Let me get it up.